Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode. We got another great guest lined up for you. I want to first of all say thank you to our guest, Kurt, for taking the time out of his day to join us on another episode. But this guy's a veteran. He's done so many of these, so I'm pretty sure he'll be able to, give us a little bit more about what it is. So, welcome to the show, Kurt Sasso. He is the host of Two Geeks Talking. Kurt, I wanted to jump right in because we only have an hour, and I know that we can talk a lot really quickly in that amount of time. But I want to get to our anchor question, which is for anyone out there who's listening, aspiring podcasters, new podcasters, why should you do a podcast?
Well, the main question is, why shouldn't you? Because it is one of the most easily accessible mediums that is out there. It is something that everyone is listening to. At least 80 to 90% of the world is listening to podcasts. Whether you're at the gym, whether you're in your car stuck in traffic, whether you're just actively perusing the internet and you're just on in the background, you are always going to be listening to something, some way, shape, or form. And those that can actively multitask can actually watch, say, a video interview as well as listen to the podcast at the same time. It's amazing, the technology these days. But the question is, what style of podcast do you want to actually do? And I think that's the main thing. If you have a passion in something that, say, Lego or Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or whatever the case may be, if you're of a geeky nature, then maybe that's your style of podcast you want to do. And for me, I wanted to talk to people with Two Geeks Talking. I wanted to actually dive into introspective nature of speaking to creative, talented people in the entertainment industry, whether it was in comics, TV and film, actresses and actors and all that fun stuff, the glitz behind the glamour, musicians, or even in the video game industry, which is a $1 billion industry, but no one really gets to interview these types of people. So I wanted to be kind of at the forefront of that style. So why should you make a podcast? You should always put forth the passion that you have in life into an audio format. And why not make a podcast of your own?
Yes, I love that answer, Kurt. Why did you actually start Two Geeks Talking, and what was the gap between what you expected and what you got when you go back and look and retrospectively and say, wow, this is not, something that I planned. What was that like going back?
Well, it literally wasn't planned whatsoever. It was one of those factors where back in 2008 when I started, and this is the Wild West of podcasting, podcasting wasn't a term until 2005, 2006, just for the historians out there. For me, it was a friend of mine was creating a webcomics.com database. It was a database of all of the webcomics that were currently available online for free on the internet. And I said, well, we have this huge database of creative and creative people in the webcomic community. Why don't we do a podcast? You know that phrase, let's do a podcast?
Yeah.
It was basically coined way back when. So it's popular now, but we coined it way back when. So my friend who was busy with the website said, go ahead. So myself being in IT, I was a computer guy. I wasn't a podcast guy. I didn't know what technology I needed, what microphones I needed. I was using an old Logitech stand microphone that, just crappily sat on your desk there. And it was the most worst audio quality you could possibly imagine. But at the time, we were only dealing with 64 hertz audio. So the audio quality was just as bad as the microphones you had. So I had to learn from the ground up. I had to learn, I went to a website, and I think it's still around, Podcast Answers or podcastanswerman.com, Cliff Ravencraft, something like that. I learned from him. I learned from his style of what technology you needed and how you should do, how you should host your show and where you should go for free, because I wasn't going to pay money for things I didn't know. So let's use the free route and really take advantage of that. And so I had a very low entry point because I was starting from fresh. I didn't have any preconceived notions. I didn't have anything along that line that allowed me to say, this is the quality I want. This is where I need to be, 200 episodes in or whatever. I was just hoping to interview 100 people and say, all right, it's a success. We did a podcast. I can do whatever else I want to do in my life. 18 years later, 1,200 plus episodes, and then some. Yeah. I'm still doing it. And I'm doing video along with audio too.
I love that. See, this is what a pro does. You're almost segueing into the next question. So by 2012, you had 75,000 downloads on audio alone. 750,000. Let me get that number right. Those are earned. So what did it feel like when you had to pivot, or you decided to pivot to doing video?
I was burnt out. I was literally burnt out with the podcasting side of things. And it's not because of, you have to kind of figure it this way. In 2008, when we started, 100 episodes was the goal. We did 250 in our first year. And that was August till August of the next year. By 2012, I had interviewed almost 700, 800 comic creators in the webcomic community alone. That was just comics. That was just webcomics specifically. I was burnt out. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I was literally burnt out. A friend of mine who's a comic creator in Chicago said, hey, C2E2 is a brand new comic convention that's coming to Chicago. Come on down, bring a video camera, bring an audio camera, bring your friend Mike down, and do video interviews. Just record people in Webcomic Pavilion, because that was the thing. Record Webcomic Pavilion and just get your 5-10 minute interviews with these creative people that are not just in the webcomic community. Maybe you're going to get Artist Alley and get some amazing people, which I ended up doing. So that was a 3-day event, and I did 150 interviews in that alone. And that was video interviews on a little Sony handheld camera with a really crappy Sony microphone recorder, where I had to sync the audio and the video. And the frame rate of the video was faster than the audio, so there was constant out of sync for everything.
Yes.
So as a host, you understand that side of things, where you're like micro editing and breaking down frame by frame just to try to even get a minuscule amount of sync whatsoever. Lesson learned. You get a better video camera, you get a microphone that links right into the camera itself, and now you don't have to worry about sync. That was years later.
Yeah, dude. Then he did 150 episodes. I mean, 150 interviews with that first style. Oh my God!
But I did the same equipment in Chicago as I did in Toronto about 3 months later. So tighter interviews in Chicago, getting a better format, breaking it down instead of like say 10 questions, which was the initial goal. These people are trying to sell comics. They're trying to run a business. I'm not trying to interfere with their business. I want to get the tightest amount of questions and answers possible, and how we can support you type thing. I need 5 basic questions I need to ask every single person. And let's just run and gun, and just pray your feet don't fall off by the end of the first day.
So is that something you would suggest to say a new somebody new to the world now of podcasting when they get started? They have all these grand ideas in the planning stage, and then they get to the reality of let's record and putting out however many. Hey, I got 20 questions I'm going to try to answer in an hour. Like, do you know what that's like actually?
Yeah, it's. But here's the problem: is you can plan all you want, but the plan will always fail. You'll have to throw away the plan. You'll have to redesign the plan, and you'll have to just wing it by the end of plan B, Z, whatever it is. You just have to do it. You have to. The technology nowadays is so much more accessible and easier to use, and the quality is so much higher than when I started, that you have no excuse to do a podcast or do a video interview show or do whatever you want to do, because you literally use your phone and make something, anything, and post it online. And now you just started your career in entertainment or in podcasting or whatever it is. So the only person that's stopping you from pressing record is you. You can, like I said, you can plan all you want, but if you don't press record, it's all stuck up here, and it does absolutely nothing up here other than this is a really cool idea on your deathbed.
Right. So that kind of leads me into another question. So how do you feel when people want to, I guess, differentiate and say podcast is audio only and a video is a, video vlog or whatever? How do you feel about that when people start getting into the world of podcasting and you have all these like quote unquote purists who say, no, it should be audio only?
When I started this, yes, I would have said, okay, yeah, I'm only going to do audio podcasting because that's what the technology allowed me to do back then. As soon as I switched to video and as soon as I got onto YouTube, that was an eye-opening experience, because you can post literally anything on there, and you had a wider range of people looking at it until 2016 when they decided to throttle everything. That's when I got demonetized as well too, because they did an en masse demonetization of the YouTube channels, and they basically said, okay, Mr. Beast and things like that, here you go, here's all your billions of dollars. Anything else that is under my our $1,000 and or 1,000 subscriber or 1,000 watch hour limit, you're no longer monetized. So that was basically the roadblock of YouTube. Anyhow, I'm straying. You have to do both. And here's why I say you have to do both. Because not everyone will listen to your podcast and not everyone will watch your videos. They will be either or they'll do both in some way, shape, or form. Some people don't like watching videos and they just like to listen to the audio. When I'm editing an interview, I'm editing for audio, but I'm still going to post the video.
Yeah.
So if you have the flexibility to do both, then do both. If you only want to focus on being a podcaster, then that's great. There's no derogatory term for being a podcaster. There's the reason why I call Two Geeks Talking a show is because it's an entertainment interview show. It also has a podcast component. So do what works for you in your limited time on this earth, and enjoy what you're doing, because if you're not enjoying it, then the people listening to you or watching you will see and hear that. So you have to bring some excitement to your own show, or else why are you doing it?
Right. Well, that kind of goes into kind of the next question of like, where do you see that like a lot of podcasters get stuck? You can go on Spotify, Apple, type in a random podcast and you'll see like 3 or 4 episodes and just dead space after that, just nothing. And then it's crazy. But what is it that kind of keeps you wanting to be consistent with what you're creating? I think you were just hinting on it, but for a lot of creators out there who get the idea of like, hey, I'm going to start a business podcast, but I'm not that passionate about business.
Then you're doing it wrong. I mean, you may like business, but are you actually passionate about it? And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They choose the wrong, and I hate to use, I know the term niche is thrown around there a lot here, but it's a hobby. What are you passionate about? What is your hobby? What are you nerding or geeking out on? Talk about that. Don't talk about something you think are going to get views. Unless you're absolutely enthralled by business, then it's okay, do business. But if you think, oh, this is an interesting concept, or I like how this podcaster interviewed these business people, I should do the same thing, you're barking up the wrong tree. It's really, because when you see those episode 3 and it stops, or episode 10 and it stops, which is a little more common these days, they've hit a wall in some way, shape, or form. The question is, what stopped them from moving on? And if they can't find a way past that wall, whether it's reframing their show, or reframing the way they ask questions, or reframing the theme of their show, if we want to go with a geek perspective, I interview comic creators. Am I a writer? Kind of, for TV and film, but I'm not a comic writer, so I'm going to ask comic writer questions. Am I an artist? Oh God, no. There's no way in heck I'm an artist whatsoever. I went to school for fine art, but I was not a great fine artist. I like photography more than fine art, but I learned color wheels, so that's a thing. Yeah. But it's something I can appreciate, but it's not something I could actively talk about. But because of my art background, I can ask interesting questions in regards to color theory and light and shadow and things like that to an actual artist and make it entertaining. But that's part of the finding your voice and finding the flow of your style of being an interview show. Sorry,
you're right on that. I was kind of wanted to go into the direction of where you were talking about reframing. Because before we forget about it, you talked about, you've done, so I've interviewed so far, most of the creators have had at least over 50 episodes. That was kind of my minimum. But one of the things that I've always been kind of enamored with is how they can create so many episodes. I've had people with 700. You're the highest. You're 1,200. Okay. Yeah. You got the crown.
Yeah.
But when it gets to a point, do you look at it and say, maybe I need to reframe what I'm talking about, or how do I, reshape and reformat what we're talking about on the show? Because some people feel that they either get burned out, or the context is like over analyzed because it's been talked about over and over and over again. I'm going to go down this path because this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about podcasting. So how much do you think you can talk about podcasts? I'm going to go find out.
Well, here's the good thing about how I've approached my show. And this will work for me. This may not work for everyone, but this is just how I've survived 18 years of doing this. Every person I've had on the show is a new person to talk to, who has a new story to tell, who has something either personal or creative that I have not seen or heard yet from another person. Sure, it may be similar to something that I've seen or read or whatever in the past 18 years, but it's not the exact same, nor will it ever be unless they blatantly copied someone else, which has never happened. So they have their own unique voice and their own unique story in what they're telling me. Unless they've been on the show more than 5 times, the first time is always special, no matter who it is, whether they're an indie or whether they're a seasoned professional of many decades in whatever industry I interview them in. They are a brand new person that I've not talked to yet. And that's what keeps my show exciting after all this time. That is not to say that I haven't had interviews where I've had guests on multiple times, and this is only a handful of times in 18 years, that it's been like pulling teeth. And it's been the same guest. And now I can't actively fault them for that, because maybe I know they're an extremely introverted person, and they quite literally were having difficult expressing their passion for what they were creating. Understandable. But I've had people that have been on the show 13 times in 18 years. I've had people that have been on the show 11 times in 18 years. And in fact, those two people are actively competing against each other for the crown of Two Geeks Talking currently for the most guest spots
what was
on the
his
show.
name? Trevor, right?
Trevor Mueller currently holds the record for 13.
I was like, 13 times.
And Dirk Manning is the other with 11. So, and they're both from like Detroit, Chicago area. Like, yeah, they're great people to chat with, and I love having them on the show. They're always talking about something new and different. So I know I'm going to have something new and unique and different on the show, and I know I can toss literally any questions at them, whether it's about process or procedure or the back end of say Kickstarter campaigns or whatever. And I know I'm going to get some unique information that someone may enjoy and listen to, because the guest is the focus on the show. If you as the host make yourself the focus, unless that's your style of interview or if that's your style of show, where you're actively having, say, a conversational approach like what you do with live streaming, completely different animal than a simple one-on-one conversation like inside the actor's studio or, say, like Tim Ferriss style or whatever the case may be. I'm more of a Tim Ferriss inside the actor's studio style. That's what Two Geeks Talking is really all about. And if that's what you love doing and what you enjoy listening and watching to, then awesome. I am the show for you, and God, do I have a backlog for you that you'll probably enjoy. And if you don't, let me know, because I'd like some feedback.
You got a lifetime supply almost, which, kind of goes into something that I've done both. I'm also a student of wanting to listen to people, because that's what got me enamored and fascinated with podcasting in the first place, was just listening to people. But I am also, I know I'm a visual person and I like to watch and see. So I like both. But you just recently, not too long ago, talked about putting in a vetting process.
Oh, yeah.
For guests. After 17 years, where did you figure like I need to start doing something along this line to kind of get a little bit understanding of your guest or how you book them?
Well, 95% of the time it's been word of mouth, which has been great, trust me. But the first 6 years or so, I was actively reaching out to people. And I still do. If there's someone I actively want, I will send an email, I'll go on their social media, I'll do a DM, whatever it is, and I'll just lay it out there. I think that's a great way to actively gain guests as well too. It's non-invasive. It's a direct conversation, and it is just straight and to the point. Do you want to be a guest on the show? Here's my timeline. Here's the schedule to sign up for it. Away you go. The vetting process started a couple of years ago. The only reason why is I'm part of a mastermind group that is a bunch of podcasters. And Isolde Trachtenberg from, she's recently changed her name, I'll have to get that to you afterwards, is an amazing New York-based podcaster. She's been in Podcasting for Dummies books. She's a singer. She's an amazing host, just an amazing person overall. And she has a vetting process. And she's like, because of of the morals and of her standards that she has for her show, she won't do like, say, massive PR marketing teams, or because she's vegan, she won't do anything with the media industry, obviously, just general examples. So she needs to have standards, which is perfectly understandable. So the vetting process that I have is basically a carbon copy of what she has. And it is filtered out a lot of stuff where it's not that it's a bad thing to have every single guest that wants to apply on the show. It depends on what you're looking for. And if you keep the same style of guests coming back over and over again, but say the quality isn't up to standard, or they're brand new and you see they have something, but they need something more. They need a couple more years of experience with, say, their comic or their film or whatever. As a podcast host, we have the right to say, I'm sorry, it just doesn't fit our show. And so that's what the vetting process is allowing me to really do. Now, it's not a bad thing to have a vetting process. I think because I've done it for so long, I get a lot of good word of mouth, so I don't really have to use it as much. But if there's something, say, there's a lot of questionable people in the world that are in the same entertainment industries that maybe don't align with my views or the show's views as a whole, like we're family friendly, LGBTQ, etc., like I have to set up standards. And this may be, it's not gatekeeping whatsoever. It's just, I'm here to protect the audience I've built up based on trust and understanding and everything that I built over 18 years. And to have, say, someone that is not up to those standards, unfortunately would kill my entire show. I can't have that.
Yeah. So now that you have that in place, would you say is there a particular moment or instance in your past where you wish you would have had one set up, like a
Mhm.
guest that was like, man, this was terrible. I should have vetted or at least had some kind of a little bit prior knowledge before I had him come on and record.
Yeah, no, in fact, I had actually recorded a few interviews where they were basically being charged with various assault charges and everything like that, among SA and a bunch of other things. And it's just like, nope, those interviews will never see the light. Yeah, I did the entire episode, did the entire record. And this is also why I don't live stream. So, though I have at least 5 or so episodes that unfortunately in my time like this, I'm sorry, like whether it's true or not, I can't take that chance. So if it's a very rare instance for me, and unfortunately it has happened, and nothing I can do. Now there's been times where a guest has been on the show and they're like, I'm sorry, I talked about my work, but I'm in a private sector and dealing with, say, battered women shelter or whatever. Could you take that portion out or whatever? And I'm like, okay, sure, not a problem. They're helping the community and things like that. So it's like, I have no problem with who I've interviewed in the past. As of right now, it's been a joy, wonderful. But yeah, unfortunately, have been some bad apples, and it's a shame.
It does happen. Knowing that I've done live streaming for 6 years now, I learned early on I had to get a vetting process in. I don't say it's for everybody, but I had to, because I knew when you have a live audience, when you have people there, you want to know, hey, this person, this vibe, or what they're talking about is going to align with your audience, because it can turn sour pretty quickly. So I want to get into now some of the fun geeky stuff
Sure.
about what we get to do. A lot of creators, when they get started, it is hey, we can just start with the phone, and that's great. I think that's a great template to start with. To get, if you're just beginning and then you don't know anything else, that's one way to get started. But once you start getting into the next phase of saying, I want to upgrade, I want to start doing things, what are some of the suggestions you would make as far as putting in money, effort into investing now into what eventually, hopefully, will become a business? But in the beginning, it's usually a very expensive hobby to start out with.
Yeah, jobs have basically paid for all of my equipment. So I completely understand where you're coming from in that respect. Something I learned in film school, and I learned early in podcasting as well, too. It doesn't matter how good the picture is. If the audio is crap, it doesn't matter. So you have to have good audio. So the first thing I would recommend is get a 2-channel podcasting setup, get a good microphone. I started with the RS Technica AT2020.
2020.
I still have it. It's a great microphone. Honestly, it still holds up to this day as a USB microphone. But I ended up getting gifted a 2-channel setup and a Rode microphone. And I'm like, sure, you're basically my sponsor for the month, and I have no problem doing that as well too. By the way, I am accepting sponsorships like that for equipment. So just saying, if anyone wants to help me upgrade a little more, I'm all for it. But once you have a good audio quality, make sure that you're dialed in with your soundboard, because if you just set it to neutral, you're just going to sound flat. So I had an audio engineer, the same audio engineer from Chicago. He was listening to me as I was talking to him over like a Zoom call or whatever. And he was like, okay, now turn this dial here, turn this dial here. And he was walking me through the manual setup while I was testing my microphone. Lighting would be the next thing. I also green screen. I have a newer green screen behind me because my place is a mess. I'm renovating, so I'm not going to show you any of that stuff. But I got 2 16-inch newer ring lights just to keep myself evenly lit. Not spectacular, but it works out well. And I still have an old Logitech C920p, first of its kind webcam that still does good. And all I have done is tweak the settings to make me look as semi-handsome as this. So it is what it is. So good audio quality is truly key, no matter if you're doing video live streaming or podcasting itself. So get to that level and away you go. And I'm sure for your phone, if you're working on your phone, there's portable setups or whatever it is from there. So
Yeah,
I haven't looked into those. So.
There's a couple, somebody who's been a video guy, and I do video production. I've learned, what can work with the phone and what doesn't. But yeah, I love just to hear people who have the same perspective that, listen, audio works, audio's the best. And one of the coolest tricks that I always use when I'm talking to them is I'll sit there and I'm telling as I'm talking, but now you can. That's the trick. Like, what's the purpose of having great video? Lighting, everything aesthetically, you can't even hear what was said. No, it's a thing that I had another instructor teach me. It's like, look, I'm going to show you something. I mean, his video camera was perfect, very expensive camera. And then he started talking and then we couldn't hear him. We're doing the same thing. It's like, that's your lesson. Audio, you need to make sure your audio sounds great because people will even stick around. The audio is great and they can hear what you're saying, but they'll work their way. They'll turn it off the moment they can't hear nothing. It's like, wow, what a great picture.
It's funny you mentioned that because that happened to me at a con where
No.
where the guy that was doing my video work thought the audio was turned up and it was actually turned off. And so I did at least 80 interviews and I didn't realize it until I was in the editing room. And so I interviewed like Mr. Dreps,
Yeah.
and I interviewed like a bunch of wrestlers like Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, and all this other stuff, and a ton of other people. And I had no audio whatsoever.
Man, what is that?
So audio is important, folks.
Audio is important, folks. So moving on to getting started in this whole process of, and you've been like like we've talked about, you've started in 2008. Now with the advent of things like AI and the technologies, that's changing. It's shifting the landscape pretty quickly. What would you say to somebody who's getting started in this world of podcasting for the first time to prevent them from, let's just say, I want to say not being able to sustain a process or a show or a system built upon something that, again, is always ever changing and shifting? Because what I'm discovering now is that there's all these podcasting tools and apps and all these other things that they're starting to invent. And I'm somebody who, again, who likes to rely, and maybe I'm old, I like to rely on the old paper and writing down what I want to say and that sort of thing. So what would you say to somebody who's getting started and to not overwhelm them in the beginning process so that they can find sustainability? Because you've been here since 2008. That speaks a lot to what you've discovered over time.
Yeah, AI is a thing. Here's the thing with that, though. If you give AI control of your voice, whether you're inputting a script, whether you're dictating to an AI or whatever, you're losing yourself. You're losing your voice. You're losing what makes you you. Because now that voice is cloned, that voice is used in whatever other purposes that you don't know of, and you've given blatant consent to an AI computer to use your voice for whatever means it deems necessary. In order to stop that, you have to actively write things down. I have a long-running Word document that I've used since 2000, and it's been modified over the decades when a new version comes out. So it's a collection of questions I've asked every single guest I've had on over the years. If that were to be put into AI, that would actively lose the specialness that is to geek stalking. And so as a new podcaster, AI is out there. If you're going to use it, then use it for titles. If you're going to use it, then use it for maybe a 3-sentence description, but don't use it for your questions. That's what research comes into play. That's how you researching what you're passionate about, Star Wars, etc. You should be researching that because you're actively consuming it. Don't let an AI allow you to lose what makes your passion a passion.
Right.
That's just ridiculous, because once you give over that type of control, you don't realize you've lost it until it's gone. And so then your questions get put into the big machine and it gets regurgitated and everything like that. And it's there, it's not going to go away, but you have control of how you use it. Just don't use it for evil.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is, it'll start producing so much in a way that sounds redundant, and you'll go, okay, this is definitely something that was put into a machine. They didn't take the time to listen to an episode. Like I was a writer before I started doing this here too. So I do love actually putting pen to paper sometimes, or not pen to paper, but actually typing out what it is that I want to create and what I want to say. And if there's something only thing I found it to help me do is pull together research a lot faster. If I need one thing I can't remember, like to pull it up out of memory. But then once I have it, okay, I just need that moment of it, and not to let it overload everything that I'm doing, like all the graphics that I make are my own, all the stuff
100%.
Because I'm somebody who wants to, again, express creativity, and I want new podcasters to understand that as well. Like, if you keep your creative spark into what you're creating, you're going to create a genuine product that will resonate or align with the right audience and with the right people. And so that kind of gets me into where, like, how did you sort of deal with finding your audience when you first started? Like, what was it that you started to realize is saying, okay, I'm starting to see a particular individual or somebody trying to listen in due to like analytics from downloads? That's the only thing I really love more of podcasting than I do everything else, is that at least you do get a signal honed in idea of analytics. Like live streams, they're terrible. I'm gonna tell you, you're not gonna get the same analytics that you do with podcasting. It's a lot worse. So it's very hard to read that.
Because I was interviewing webcomic creators to start, comic readers, whether they were webcomic creators or whether they were DC, Marvel, or whatever the case might be. The good thing about comics in general, whether it's web or digital or traditional, like you have a book, whatever, go to your local comic book store and you're there on every whatever comic book day is, Tuesdays or whatever. I was getting that audience immediately because that was easy to get back in that day, because there wasn't any true crime podcast, or there wasn't anything. In fact, I started my show a month before Joe Rogan and Mark Maron started their stuff.
Wow.
They're more famous, obviously, and they have the money, which I would love 2% of whatever they make, which is great. Just living expenses. It is what it is. But I found from an audience perspective and analytics perspective, based on the data I can remember from back then, I was getting like the 18 and up, 18 to 55 range, 60% male, 40% female. It was pretty even, to be honest, back then, which was a real shock, to be perfectly fair. And then as I changed over to YouTube, it became more along the lines of, okay, I'm getting these 20, 30 ranges right now, or 30s into 40s range overall. So you have to look at this data no matter what it is, whether it's on a video or whether it's on your podcast. In fact, I love looking at my podcast stats nowadays, because I just brought it back about 4 years ago, because TalkShoe ended up deleting my entire archive. So my 1,000+ interviews that I had on TalkShoe was deleted randomly one day without any notification to me. Luckily, I'm a computer guy and I have everything backed up. So I didn't lose anything. Now, my quandary is, do I release content from way back in 2008 that could be taboo or risky or whatever in today's climate? Does it stay in the vault or doesn't it? I'm still debating that after all this time. But from the analytics perspective of the podcast, currently, as I've released it for the past 3 years or so, I've just reached over almost 6,000, 7,000 downloads. I've had massive downloads from, say, like Lithuania or Africa or whatever, where it's like a Germany 200 download spike of they've downloaded absolutely everything so I've obviously done something right. I just don't know how or where it started, but people are listening, which means that the content I'm creating, the interviews I'm having, because it's all about the guests and telling their stories, people are listening to them more than me. And I think something is resonating with these people, and I can't thank them enough, truly, for whether it's views on YouTube or whether it's downloads on Podbean or iTunes or wherever you get your podcast by searching Two Geeks Talking. So the TWO, not the number 2.
Yeah.
I had to say that, truly, because there's another show that has a number and it's not my show.
Oh, wow.
I'm a little salty about that.
So let's talk about that a little bit before we start getting into the wrap up. But the idea of distribution, because that's another one that a lot of creators run into and usually throw their hands in the air when they first get started, because they don't even know what an RSS feed is, what distribution is. How do I find out get my podcast on Apple, Spotify, and all these other platforms? Kind of talk a little bit more about that process for anybody who might be listening and want to get started and don't know what to do.
You need a host. You can't run it off a server off your computer. You probably could, but I haven't researched that, and that's just a complete other rabbit hole I just don't have time to dive down to, or else I would completely do that. And I wouldn't have to pay like whatever I'm paying a year for Podbean, $150 a year or something like that. But it's a necessary evil. You're going to have to pay money to get your content out there. YouTube will only get it so far, so you're going to need a host for your podcast specifically. I like Podbean. They seem clean as it is, although they're bringing in some AI functionality to it that I have to do a little more research on. Right now, every AI feature I have on my Podbean dashboard is currently shut off. Whether or not they pull a Microsoft or whatever and automatically turn things on without my consent, that's something I have to view as well too. But for now, that's my current platform. It has the best audio quality. I can upload the files. I've already exported through DaVinci Resolve from when I'm editing the a physical video interview.
Yeah.
So I'm already doing two things at once at the same time. So I might as well just extract my MP3 because I know it's clean and I can upload it and I don't have to worry about it. So find a good host that fits your budget, because everyone has a budget, and then start promoting it on your 7 other social media platforms, whether it's Twitter, Instagram. Threads has been a real good avenue. Blue Sky is fun too. You have options and you have people. It's just a matter about reaching out to them and staying active in those social medias, promoting your content, not just simply spamming, hey, I have a podcast, you should go watch it. No, you have to actually engage and communicate with people. This is not just sit back. This is not like back in the days where you could just post on a message board and say, hey, here's two geeks talking and you should come and watch it. And then I get like a couple of thumbs up. I mean, that still happens to this day, but I think that they're just liking the post and not actively watching. It is what it is. You're going to have to research. You're going to have to take time, ask questions of other podcasters that have been doing this in the business. If I get 50 DMs from this particular interview or whatever, I'm going to have to create a video of my own. and I'll direct you towards the series. But I actually did start a series about that on my YouTube channel, TGT Media. So they can watch a good portion of beginning podcasting and beginning video interviews and everything like that. So it's something I had some time in December, like a year or two ago, and I said, I'll put a couple of scripts together and see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big one for a lot of creators out there, because without the experience, I think that's one of the things that a lot of podcasters feel the frustration of how to get started. They might be able to say, okay, I figured out recording. I know how that went. I figured out how to edit my stuff, but I don't like the channels and how to distribute and find them. It can be a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, but I think that's where you have good communities, and like you said, doing the outreach and reaching out to people and then asking the questions. I've found that there's so many podcasters who are just willing to say, hey, let me help you walk this through. Like this kind of what the genesis of what this was, what we're doing here now started as, is seeing other creators helping each other out. And I said, wow, they're so open. And, again, they're not gatekeeping. They're not keeping, I got all the secrets. You got to buy the 10 secrets behind this paywall. They were just like, hey, I generally want to help you.
Like that.
There is. I've run into a few of them, but but you generally find most people, they're open and willing to share their acquired knowledge and kind of help a podcaster get started. That's one of the wonderful parts. And one of the things that you did mention was the idea of social media, which goes into now the next step of, okay, you created, you edited, you found your distribution, you published. Now, how do you promote the dang thing? How do you find the channels to get people to who may want to go and listen to your podcast, but don't know, in the big sphere now of social media, and there's so many different channels and so many different places. How do you find the people that you want this message to resonate with?
Well, yelling into void doesn't help. Just letting you know ahead of time. It goes back to actively communicating with people with similar interests. This is not about shoving your podcast down everyone's throat. This is about someone's asking a question about something maybe you're passionate about as well too. Be a human being and engage in a conversation. Even if it's on social media, it doesn't matter. Maybe this person you spoke to one day now becomes big in the future and you've maintained a friendship, albeit online, to say congratulations on this promotion or congratulations on, this amazing comic you just created. This looks amazing and beautiful. Hey, would you like to be a guest on the show or whatever? You get to the point where if that's your style and you want to engage that way, then do it. But be a good human being. Don't be mean. Don't be a dick. Just be good. Because there's so much hate in the world as it is. It takes 5 seconds to be nice to someone to cheer them up, and do that on social media as well. Sure, there's toxic fandoms, and we've all run into them.
Yeah.
Continuously in some cases, I'm sure. But there are those that are still part of those fandoms that aren't dicks.
Yes.
So, find the people you like and just engage with them. Promoting your show becomes second nature afterwards, but it shouldn't be the primary focus of it. If they ask, hey, what do you do? Then sure, hey, that's a great time to bring it up. But don't always often lead with that. You're not going to go to like an actor like a Sean Austin or something and say, I have a podcast, you should be on the show. Right? I mean, it might work 60% of the time if he's in a good mood, which apparently he's a nice guy. it is what it is. So you do what you can, but be a nice human being, engage and actively like communicate with these people. Don't just simply do a one and done and away you go. So hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I think what you have just said is there's so much truth that aligns with how I try to approach it as well. My grandmother always used to say it's easier to draw flies with honey than vinegar. I mean, the sweeter you are, the more tendency that people will want to just give you an opportunity, just have a conversation.
And that's what I liked about how we connected was literally it was just a Threads post. I was just like, hey, I'm going to interview a podcast. I'm like, hey, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I have nothing. I have nothing happening in the next 30 seconds. I'm just going to throw this post up and reply to you. And it's like, all right, cool.
Right, and that's
it's not easy though. It's not easy, and people don't understand that. It's like you're taking a shot on what's the worst thing that can happen? They say no, or they block you, or both. So
right, and move on.
You have 50.
So that leads me to the what I like to call the fun part. Now let's go into a little bit about what you got coming up, or what would you like to promote? What are some of the things after 1,200 episodes? Where else could you go down? What avenues can you explore? What is in the future for Kurt Sasso?
Well, currently the show is booked until about May. I'll have to look at my schedule. The free shows are booked until May. I do provide an interview service as well, which is also a maximum performance short package along with the interview with an interactive interview itself. So for YouTube specifically, I include video and audio and clips of what they're speaking of, their own products, comics and TV and film that they've been in, etc. Just to make it more engaging. It is, just have some fun. Keeps my editing tools sharp as well too, because that is my career as an editor and a DIT. So I have interviews in that respect. And I have a few paid interviews as well too that are coming down, which I'm really looking forward to. Like a storyboard artist from The Simpsons for the past 20 years. He's moved into children's books for comics. I'm like, cool, this is a great transition. This should be pretty awesome. And I won't do the old adage of who's your favorite Simpson or who do you look like or whatever like that. I'll try not to anyhow. We'll see.
It's going to be there. You're going to be like, okay.
Hold back. But then I'm also going to be working in the TV and film industry this year, as I have been for many years now. There's about 4 young adult Degrassi Junior High style. I'm Canadian, so Degrassi Junior High, if you're not familiar.
There.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to be filmed in my local area, which is amazing because they're usually everything is from London, Ontario up. Mm-hmm. So we're very fortunate to have those productions come down this way. So I'll be working on those too. And then there's a few other series for season 2 of a few things that I've worked on that are coming back, I believe. And this is on Bell 5 TV currently, and then they're releasing it online. I'm still going to be doing this. I'm going to be starting my 18th year actively on August 8th of this year. I had to actually put it into a calculator and figure out because I think I was rolling my number over too fast. So I thought I was on my 19th year, but I'm not. So we'll see if I can make it to 20 and go from there. Whether I retire or whether I keep going, we'll see how it goes. Other than that, I'm looking forward to whoever I get to speak with. And I'm still on Threads. I'm still on the social medias. And if there's someone that I would love to have on the show, I'm going to actively reach out to you. And if you think that Two Geeks Talking fits your style, I have a form that you can fill out. And, similar to how we connected as well, too. It's like, fill this out and I'll get back to you, get you connected. And if we're a great fit, let's see what you have to talk about and promote, because this is all about you and the story you want to tell. I'm just here to help bring it out. Yeah.
See, that's what I love. You get to act as the conduit for somebody to be able to share their story, and you get to be part of, and for a moment, you get to be a part of their journey that's recorded, and you go back and you can actually go back and watch or listen. And that's what I love about this is that we're getting to archive points in our lives and our journeys and having that stuff. It was kind of what, the old hieroglyphics in the wall. That's how they had to pass along stories. For us nowadays, it's video and audio that we're going to be able to share on to the next generation. Who knows? 200 years from now, they could be talking about, hey, Kurt was this, Kurt was You never know. You never know if you're going to be the next Dickens. Who knows? That's all.
Yeah, I think once we get into VR and all that other stuff, I guess I'm going to have to make a chibi avatar of myself or something like that just to throw up there and guide you towards the decades of Kurt and Two Geeks Talking. We'll see how that goes.
We'll see how but that's the great thing about comic books. They seem to last, to tell time. Those stories can be told over and over and over again. I mean, we're seeing them in the box office all the time. Those stories get told over and over and over again. And the way I see it, it's the same way that they would do a Dickens novel. You can always reimagine it, reshare it. And that's what I love about it, is that it's a permanent way to just leave your mark on the world past the time that you're here. I mean, we're limited. Our stories and our words probably carry on longer than we will. So thank you again, Kurt. I do appreciate you, man. This is amazing. And again, you got the crown for me. I haven't run into anybody else who's done this with as many episodes and for this many years, other than I got one individual. She's coming on. She's been a teacher. Listen to this. She's been a teacher for almost 20 years and getting started in it, but she didn't start her own podcast like until 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, look, I'm glad I have the crown currently, and to be fair, I know I'm well past 1,200. I just say 1,200 because that's the last time I counted.
You lose count.
So I've actively lost count. I could be closer to 2,000 by this point,
Yeah.
but honestly, it stopped being about numbers, and it always was about the guests. And you're not a number to me. You're a great person with an amazing story to tell, and I'm glad you took the time to be on Two Geeks Talking. And I love what you're doing here, Gabe, with what you're doing with this show. And this is another avenue for people. And I have a few podcasters you should definitely interview as well too.
You want to give any recommendations? I would, because I love picking their brains, because the creative sparks that go off in their heads and how they come up with the ideas. To me, that's the most fascinating thing. That's what I tell people. AI will never figure out. I don't care how advanced they get it. It'll never figure out how those neurons fire to create something so imaginative. All right. Well, thank you again, Kurt. I will send you all the details once everything's done, completed up. I'm launching April 2nd. So I already have 6 other episodes, but yours will probably be episode number 3.
Okay.
I already lined them up how I want them.
Oh, okay.
You're number 3. I have 2 others, but once.
Well, I want to thank everyone for listening and watching to this particular show, because it is an amazing show at that. And you can find Two Geeks Talking and myself on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TGT Media. The podcast you can find wherever you get your podcasts by searching Two Geeks Talking. That's TWO Geeks Talking. And I'm on social media everywhere at Kurt Sasso, at Two Geeks Talking. And I respond to everyone that messages me. I know it's weird these days, but I like to talk to people. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening, watching on Two Geeks Talking in this amazing interview show.
Thank you. My God. Couldn't ask for anything better. All right, Kurt, I do appreciate it. I loved having this conversation. Thank you again for taking the time, and I'm truly grateful. You have a great one. Bye-bye.